Oh, let me say hello to our guest here.
Yeah, sure.
How you doing, Hammer?
What's up, man? How are you?
Good. How's the weather there in Las Vegas?
Not too warm yet. Still early here, so yeah, you know how it. I think the weather is here the same, like 345 or 350 of the 365 days a year. So
Yeah, pretty much. Okay, so we're gonna give everybody just 3 or 4 minutes.
okay. How's my audio? Are you picking up any too much background noise? Because I'll mute when I'm not talking.
No, you sound fine. You
Okay.
sound fine. Where are you staying out there?
The Mirage.
Okay.
Yeah. So we're outside. I was walking with my wife and said, "Oh, got to take a meeting."
So are you at, was it Fuse?
No, I am not. I am not, because we had these plans months ago before I even looked to see when Fuse was. We're here with another couple for her 60th birthday, and we're going to an Aerosmith concert and just, doing the tourist stuff.
Fun.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so it's funny because I looked about going to Fuse and went, oh, I'm already going to be in Vegas. Oops. So what about you? Why did you not go to Fuse?
Well, so I went to, just the dates worked better. There were 3 conferences right together, so I went to the Mastermind one last week.
I haven't been to Mastermind in years. I spoke at it once before. How was it this year? I mean, did you find value? How were the speakers?
So it was good. It was a smaller room than normal. But I don't know. I may try one of the others. We're retail, but I know Fuse has a lot to offer, probably a bigger show.
Yeah. Even Fuse, though, I mean, without I don't want to disparage any speakers. The themes were good, but I didn't see, and I could be wrong, but just looking at the agenda, I didn't see a lot that really was relevant to, hey, here's some rubber meets the road stuff that you put in, like stuff that you get out of the VMA, like Michael Fisher stuff. Sometimes the smaller conferences, you get more out of those to integrate into your business. The bigger ones are just a lot of fun and networking and kind of to lift you up and keep you motivated, keep you going. That's my opinion. It's where I see a lot of
No,
it.
absolutely. Absolutely. Kind of like this conference call. So we'll have, I don't know, maybe 15 and we can have a discussion. And then if we had 70, then you can't really do that.
Yeah, kind of the same thing. Because I was down here a couple weeks ago at Legion of Loan Officers. Nick Carpenter, okay. He had an event, and I have to say, I mean, again, he had originally planned to have about 150 people, and I think the timing ended up biting into his numbers quite a bit because people are, they're cutting back, and he only had about 50 people, but it was a really great event with those 50 people because we were able to go so deep working with people. It was awesome.
Are you going to Michael Fisher's VMA event in Dallas?
I was not invited to that, so I'm going to say no.
Okay.
Yeah. I went to the one earlier. I went to the one, I think earlier this year, I think it was.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay, so we're going to get started. We have a pretty good group, and there may be some that come in late, which is fine. So I've been waiting all week to say this. It's Hammer time. So we are very lucky to have Hammer J. Helmer, a loan officer. Can I call you an OG, or are you too young for that?
No, you can call me an OG, and just to be clear though, I don't actively write loans anymore because I run our company, and it's a big company. But I still live and breathe loan officer stuff.
But so I have to ask you about one question. So anyway, so Hammer has got his finger on the pulse of the market and has some opinions that have been spot on in the past. And so I really wanted to see, because right now we're in a situation where the market has changed drastically in the past, I don't know, 120 days. So we need some clear views from knowledgeable, experienced people like Helmer to tell us the direction we're going in. But before I jump into that, I was looking at your LinkedIn profile, and you got into the business originating in 2008.
No, I was in 2000. I've been doing this for 22 years. I made it through 2008. I went broke. I lost everything. Lost my house. Lost my car. Lost my dignity. But it came out the other side, and that's actually probably very relevant to where we're at today, because that was when business dried up. We had a similar situation where you just couldn't. You went from having an abundance of loans to a scarcity of loans, and a different reason, but same result. So no, I made it. I was still originating I originated through 08 and kept originating until about 2011.
Okay, cool. So yeah, so we can segue from there. So there, like you said, there were some similarities, but I think there's a lot of differences in this market. So so touch on that, Helmer. Why? I know that we have a lot of people on the call that have only been in the business for two years or less. So they don't really know about a whole cycle. All they know is it went from good to bad. So tell us how this is not the same thing.
Well, it's definitely not the same thing as 2008. It's really, for the mortgage business, just like the rest of the economy. So we had an abundance of business in 2020 and 2021 because of the Fed artificially dropping rates. They did that by manipulating what's called the Fed funds rate, and by quantitative easing, which is where they buy up the market, create a strong demand, and that allows supply to still, when they increase that strong demand, it keeps the supply chain open. So basically the supply chain was writing loans at that time. So anyway, we did over 4 trillion in loans in 2020 and 2021. We'll do over 2 trillion in 2022. And if you step back and you go, oh my goodness, we're doing half the volume we did. How are we ever going to get through this? That's what it feels like. That's the emotional reaction to this. But the reality is, this is almost a normal market. We're seeing it a little more extreme than usual, but the actual volume numbers, $2 trillion in mortgages, is actually a good number. And there's still a lot of business out there. The difference is you have to prospect for it. Whereas honestly, the last couple of years, you didn't have to prospect. Would you agree with that, Stephen, that you didn't have to prospect? Business came to you almost through like osmosis?
Yeah, I mean, you could be at the grocery store holding up a sign that says, I do mortgages at 2.5%. And I think anybody would have picked up some loans.
Yeah.
So, yeah. So we are definitely in an environment where you have to do work for the business, which is normal. It's not just going to flood in like, selling ice cream at the summer fair. So, okay. So
let me build on that one more bit for you. So the other thing I would add is you have to look at the business very differently as well. You can't just look at it over the next couple of weeks, the next couple of months, because it's very easy to get discouraged if your pipeline isn't full. You have to really step back and start taking a 12-month and 18-month view on this business. Because if you weather the storm, and hopefully everybody on this call does, if you weather the storm and you build properly right now, you're basically, it's cliche, but you're sowing the seeds that you're going to harvest and reap 12 to 18 months from now. Because all of the people that you're talking to now, some of them are going to choose not to do anything, but they will do something later. You're talking to people who can't do something because rates have gone up and their debt to income ratios are a little out of whack. They will do something later. So you need to be filling your prospect pipeline right now and staying in touch with those people and finding out exactly what is it that's holding them back from buying or refinancing. And then you need to keep a list or a spreadsheet or a CRM so that you can deal with those issues, conditions, objections when the market does change. And the market will swing. What we're seeing right now is a very, very quick movement, which is always difficult to make it through. So in the very short term, we've seen rates go from the 2s to the 3s to the 4s to the 5s and now into the 6s and the 7s. And when you see rates that just 8 weeks ago were in the 5s, and the low fives at that. VA loans even in the fours, and then now all of a sudden you're, you know, it's six and a half, 7%. Rate sheets that are not allowing you to give a lot of rebate pricing. You guys, are you running into that, Stephen, with your team, where you have rates that people have to pay to get and you can't give rebate pricing out?
Absolutely. So especially at those higher rate options, I guess the market isn't accustomed to it. Those, you know, bundles of loans aren't liquid yet at 7%. So, you know, old school, we would look at every eighth in rate to be equal to a half a point in rebate up and down the scale. And now you get that compression where as you go up, it's then 3/8 and then a quarter, and then you don't get squat.
Yeah.
So, right. So if you have a customer with, you know, a 700 credit score and there's a 1 point hit conventional, then there's not enough rebate to even get a par price. Much less the other little tricks we used to use with rebate pricing. So yeah, so sometimes it ties our hand. And of course, on government loans, the people are usually stressed for cash to start with.
Yeah,
so
that's where the seller concessions are coming back big time right now. You know, we're seeing that all over the US. My kids just bought a house. They bought it from Open Door. Open Door took a huge loss when they sold it, and even gave them a $20,000 credit during the process when there was an inspection issue. And I said, swing for the fences, and they got 20 grand on a $300,000 purchase. So that's, you know, you're seeing a lot of this now. So you can use that to help pay down those points, pay down those closing costs for the buyer.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, definitely things are loosening up. Sellers, you know, they still hold the gold, but I guess they don't hold it as tightly as they did before. So we're seeing, I'm starting to see some contracts with seller paid closing costs. Absolutely. Yeah. So what is your, not to put you on the spot, but what is your prediction? I mean, when do you think that we're going to top out or maybe start to come down as far as rates go?
Again, normally I love answering a prediction question. Right now, it's almost like shaking the magic 8 ball and it says ask again, you know, because what we're seeing, it's very difficult to get a handle on what's going on in the markets. There's a lot of panic going on. So I think rates, I said on my lock advice this morning that rates could be showing a sign of the near term of topping out again and getting a little bit better. But we have to really see next week to kind of see a little bit of improvement to really take a breath. I think that rates could go up even further from here. We could see the 10-year treasury yield go up to 4%. We could see mortgage bonds worsen, and that would put rates up another half a point. We still may see that, you know, heading into the next few weeks and even towards the end of the year. However, if things settle down as they should, what should happen is we're going to see rates stabilize but stay kind of higher for a little while. And then remember, mortgage rates are still relative and related to everything else. So you're not going to see mortgage rates just suddenly drop when the Fed is raising rates through February. That's when the Fed is expected to hit what they call the terminal rate for the Fed funds rate. And they're expected to stop raising rates by February. And they're going to hold that Fed funds rate there for could be 3-6 months. And then they're going to start lowering rates again. Because what they're doing is they're choking out the economy. And then when it's unconscious and just on the edge of death, they're going to try to bring it back. And mortgage rates are going to have to follow that same path. So we could see rates that are probably in the 6s for a while. And then once the economy really shows signs of turning down, and when I say the economy, the reports are important. And right now the reports are not showing that the economy has gotten tremendously better. But I mean, looking around here, the hotel I'm in is full, maxed out. Couldn't get a room early because it was full. The plane was full. People are spending money. So when I talk about the economy slowing down, I'm talking about normal people not spending money, people starting to lose jobs and have layoffs, concern and fear. That's when you're going to see mortgage rates really start to drop down. And that's probably going to be second quarter of 2023 is what we're looking at right now. That could change, but that's what, if you read the tea leaves today, it's second quarter 2023 to see rates start to really fall back down, get back into the 5s. We're probably going to be spending some time in the 6s until then.
Yeah, I mean, I totally agree. And what I'm seeing on CNBC, there was just a report today. I forgot what it was, but inflation is just still high. And in my opinion, they're underreporting inflation. I mean, if you go to the grocery store or I just lost a bet to somebody because they told me that a hamburger at Five Guys was $12. And I said, there's no way. And I looked it up on their menu, $12.38 for a cheeseburger. So, you know, they can tell you that inflation is 8%, but, you know, from what I'm seeing in real life, it's higher than that.
Right. And especially, I mean, it depends on where you get all those numbers. You've got airline prices have, more than doubled. You've got a lot of food prices that have doubled. Energy prices are expensive. So that's where it really hits us. Does it really matter if you can get something cheap for cheap still when all of the things that you need every day or that we're used to spending on are extremely high? So, but what's happening now when we talk about that high inflation, again, to bring this back to how do you get business? I'm just calling it how it is. It's unfortunate, but it's real. People are putting their money, they're putting this stuff on credit cards. What's going to happen is you say, well, Hammer, why would someone ever refinance a 3.5% interest rate, right? Not even the twos, but even like a 3.5%, 4% interest rate. What's going to happen is all the spending they're doing now, the payments are going to build. They're going to get into a position where it makes more financial sense to restructure their debt because they've built up a lot of credit card debt. Maybe they need to get a car. Well, car loans are going to be coming in. I don't know what a car loan is today, but it's probably about 8%. And I had 0% from a Jeep I bought a couple of years ago. Now you're looking at 8, 9, 10% for somebody without stellar credit. So you're going to have these expensive car payments again, expensive credit card payments, and people are going to be forced to take advantage of this equity that's been built, and they're going to be forced to refinance just for cash flow. So there's still going to be a lot of business out there. Don't buy into this idea that nobody's ever going to refinance again and that people are never going to sell a house. This stuff, it's going to come into play, but there's still going to be a lot of business because of that.
So how much of the issue do you think is psychological? So when rates went from 3% to 6%, it's shocking. And some people feel like, wait a minute, I don't want to buy a house now when the rates are at the highest point they've been. But then what's the psychology when they're at 7% for a couple months and then they come back down to 6? Right. Completely different mindset. So, we talk about 6.5 just being crazy high if we're in the micro. But as far as history goes, that somebody said the past 30 years, the average rate is 7.1 or something. So it's not a crazy rate. How much do you think is psychological?
Well, there's a tremendous amount of it that's psychological. And right now you've got the 5 stages of grief. If you guys were to Google the Kubler-Ross grief model, there's 5 stages of grief. So when rates jump up as quickly as they have, we talk about it as rate, but a lot of it right now is payment, because people were like, okay, my housing payment's going to be $1,500 a month. And now all of a sudden that housing payment is $1,800 a month. And they're thinking that $300 of real money. So the rates have gotten a real tangibility when they start thinking about their payment and what they could have bought with that $300. So when you look at, I was at $1,400 and now I'm at $1,800. Well, fear of missing out. I've missed out on this other money. I want to wait and have it come back. So they go through the 5 stages of grief, where they go through anger, disappointment, bargaining, and eventually acceptance. And once we get to acceptance, like you said, Stephen, it's a time frame issue that you become conditioned that this is where we're at. We raised the bar. This is the new main line. And then all of a sudden, everything you're comparing it to is there. There's still a lot of people that qualify at 7%. Unfortunately, there's some people that don't, but there's a lot that do. And when 7% becomes normal and 6% becomes a deal, yes, then all of a sudden everyone will be happy at 6%.
What is your, if I could put you on the spot one more time, so what's your forecast as far as property values? So in Atlanta, we're pretty stable and we've seen the market soften just a little bit. We have not seen values come down to any great degree. What do you think is going to happen there?
If we had stopped with rates in the 5s, we would have just seen a little bit of softening and everything would have kind of stayed level. Now that we're seeing rates get higher, I think that puts us in a slightly different position where, especially you've got your two ends of the situation. The high end homes are going to come down because people that have money, they don't necessarily make these financial moves when it's not advantageous. So those values are going to come down. And then on the lower end, that you're going to have more people that are able, those houses are softening a little bit. Maybe somebody that bought a home a while, 6 months ago, maybe that would on paper appraise for a little bit less. Not yet, because right now we're still appraising based off the peak. But in a couple of months, it's about a 3-month lag. You'll start to see appraisals come in light, and they're not gonna hit value. So I think we're gonna see in a lot of markets where things are gonna soften. Prices could go down a little bit, but they're going to bounce back as soon as rates drop again in a year or a year and a half. So I think that this is a time to have that conversation with a consumer and tell them you can't guarantee a future result. However, rates are high, values are starting to come down. It's a great time to buy something. And then when the rates come back into play and they lower, now you've gotten the house at a great price and you get a rate at a great rate.
Totally agree.
I got one more minute for you. I got one more minute, Stephen. My wife's patiently waiting on me, and then we're going to keep going.
Okay. Does anybody have a quick question for Hammer we can hit him with before he scoots out of here?
It was either really good or really bad.
No, it was really good, insightful things. So, okay. So, hey,
that was really good.
Oh, go ahead, Antonio.
Yeah, no, sorry guys, I'm on the road. But no, that was really good insight. Thank you.
Awesome.
Okay.
Thanks.
So, Hammer, so, the thing is that loan officers, we don't really have that much to fear. So business is down, but we know it's coming back. It always does. Are you scared, Hammer, or not?
No, I'm not scared. It's again, also, like I said, if you can make it through, now's the time to, I'm in Vegas, so I'll use a poker thing. You're basically putting in your time at the table. Make sure that you're keeping track of all those people, and it's going to come back. The money's going to come later. The money's going to come a year from now, but the work comes in today. So don't look for the immediate results. Make the right plays.
Got it. Well, listen, thank you so much. Have a great time in Vegas. Tell Stephen Tyler I said hello, and we'll talk to you later. Okay, Hammer?
Awesome. Thanks. Take care, everybody. Nice to meet y'all.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
So cool. So I noticed we've got Jonathan Barnes over there. I see you. So Jonathan, give me your 2 cents worth about what Hammer said about the market.
I think he's pretty spot on. And I appreciate the way that he approaches this from kind of a ground level with a lot of this stuff. There are a lot of moving pieces going on in the market right now. I know everyone right now that's originating sees a sticker shock at the rates. But the bigger issue we're facing right now is affordability. And you guys started to get into that with the cost of a home right now. Your first-time home buyer no longer is buying $120,000 or $180,000 home. They're buying $250,000, $300,000 homes. And I think a lot of that is what's causing the fear with a lot of consumers of, a lot of people are waiting a little bit longer to get into the housing segment. And when you're staring at a $2,500 or a $3,000 payment, it's daunting stuff. And it's that we need to educate and get beyond with real referral sources and with borrowers of, you got to realize some of this stuff we can abate. There's creative ways we can get around this, seller concessions, buy the rate down. There's a lot of tools that we have that we can kind of offset this short period that we have here until rates tip down and we start to see some plateau to the value of homes.
What are the chances we're going to see 4.5% again in our lives?
Pretty slim. I hate to say it. Reality is, when you mentioned the historical rates around 7%, that's probably where we're going to float in the foreseeable future. Probably a low in the 5s. If someone's willing to buy down, maybe they can touch the 4s. But reality is we'll probably be in the upper 5s to maybe the low 7s for the foreseeable future right now.
Okay. So I read a report from Fannie Mae that said something about we would end 2023 at 4.4. Did you hear that?
You're talking for a rate?
Uh-huh.
Oh, that's gotta be like earlier this year, like January or December. They've revised all their projections like 3 times this
Okay, well, maybe it was just wishful thinking.
year. I think
All
they're
right,
all right at
guys.
this
So,
point.
thank you, John, for your opinions there. Okay, so I want to talk about a couple of things. First of all, I think that one thing I touched on with Hammer is a lot of it is psychological, and a lot of you guys have just been, so raise your little hands, the little yellow hand down there. If you have been in the business for 3 years or less. Okay, I see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay, so a lot of them. So you haven't been through a cycle, and it's very frustrating because maybe you've changed careers or you put a lot of time and effort and money into getting into the mortgage business. You took the class, you got licensed, and then you get here and you're like, great, now everything's just turned to crap. And that's not the case. But I don't want to be one of those I hate those managers that tell you that just everything's wonderful and that you should just go on with life and it's all mindset and all that. So I want to spend a minute. I want to talk about, let's just put the moose on the table. So let's talk about how bad things really are. So I can tell you right now, rates have gone up about 3% in 6 months. So Adam, tell me, we're playing the bad side right now. So Adam, tell me why things are so bad right now.
Sorry, Stephen, I'm on my phone today. Why things are so bad? I think people's perception of bad is that they see that higher payment, they see the cost of gasoline, the cost of milk, their groceries, all of those things are bad perceptions to them of the higher rates. So that cost of living is higher.
Right. Cassidy, tell me something that's bad.
It's definitely bad. The amount that people can qualify for is less.
That's exactly right. Gabrielle, tell me something bad.
Say it one more time. So sorry.
Tell me something bad that's going on. We're getting it all out. We're flushing it all out of our system. Go ahead.
I think it's just trying to keep people understanding that this is only temporary. A lot of people are just listening a lot to the news. So it just feels it's hard to stay positive when people are constantly.
Okay, so people are in a tough mindset.
Yeah.
So, Lauren, tell me something bad.
Well, I was going to say kind of that, like, there's just so much uncertainty right now for, are rates going to continue to climb up? Are we ever going to be able to afford feeding our family for an entire week? Like my, grocery bill, I have 3 kids and my grocery bill has tripled. So
I totally get it. Richard Rubble, tell me something bad.
I feel like people can't really afford the houses right now. Just seeing how
Affordability
much,
sucks.
and the
Heather,
affordability, and then the rent. They have no other choice, so we got to sell. I mean, that's just.
Heather, tell me something bad. Peggy Bradshaw, tell me something bad. We're flushing it all out of the system. We're getting it out. Okay. Well, I'll tell you a couple of other bad things. I mean, we lost about 500 basis points the last 30 days. Refi business is gone. We already talked about affordability. The whole pie of the mortgage industry has shrunk about 30 to 40%. We have too many loan officers fighting over those slices of pie. And the way we have a fantastic system here at Van Dyke, but the downside is we don't have those specialty programs that banks have, those CRA, 100%, no MI. this, that, and the other, or competitive arm rates or anything like that. So it looks like everything sucks, right? But that's not necessarily the case. Anything else bad I didn't mention so we can be done with the bad?
Stock market's tanked.
The stock market's tanked, and that leads to lack of consumer confidence. If you've lost a ton of money in the stock market, you don't want to go out and make the biggest purchase of your life. Totally get it. Anybody else got anything bad? We can kill it off right here. Okay, we're done with the
There's a
bad.
lot of new people in
What?
the industry. A lot of new LOs in the industry. So
Too
there's
many.
just
Too many LOs fighting for a slice of a smaller pie. Right.
Yeah.
I get
And
it.
it reminds me of like when the realtors, like when they were entering into the real estate license, right? As there was a big boom in real estate where there was more realtors and there were houses available. So now it's our turn to kind of get that feeling, you know, so.
I get it. So are we done with the bad? Does anybody have anything else bad they want to mention? Okay, so let's talk about the good. So let's switch our minds here. We have a handle on what's going bad in our business and our industry, but let's get a better handle on what's good. So Heather, tell me something good.
Something good. I don't know. I always try to sell people on payment. I never have really had that
The
much.
payments are higher. I mean,
Yeah.
not to be argumentative, but
Yeah. I just switched the focus. And
okay.
yeah. And
Jonathan.
basically I've had a lot of first time home buyers, so they really don't
Okay,
know.
Jonathan, tell me something good. I mean, you were around in 2008. Tell me something good.
Credit box is wider than it's been. In 2008 through 2010, we saw the credit box shrink drastically.
Right. I mean, I just got an FHA loan approved with a 56 back ratio. I mean, we're still credit-wise, we're very generous. That's true.
I've got
I'll
a
give you one.
505.
I don't know about your markets out there because I know you're all over the country, but in Atlanta, Georgia, the real estate market is still strong. I mean, you're not getting any bargains out there. And a strong real estate market is important. Back in 2008, the real estate market collapsed. So that's completely different. Tell me something good, Lauren.
Something good is that, well, I don't know, when it comes to, you know, maybe possible refinances in the future, is that people are spending their money on their credit cards. So, you know.
So we're getting set up for a future refinance market, really, from your mouth to God's ear. I really think that's the case and hope that's the case. So I need to hear some more good stuff. I want to see some of these yellow hands come up so I don't have to keep calling on you people. Angela, tell me something that's good that's going on. I got a whole list over here I made.
I'd just say that it's temporary, that it's just going to take a little while. So if we can just hang on, then I've been in a long time. So I've seen the cycle come back around, and it will come back around.
Okay. Adam, tell me something good.
The sun is shining. We're above ground.
I like it.
We have our families.
Safe and sound. Okay, Antonio, tell me something good.
Hey, everybody. But dude, I think there's a lot of things that are good right now. For a lot of buyers, a lot of first-time home buyers entering the market, although rates are rising, right? We got to understand that back in 2020, the rates were the lowest that they ever been, right? And 40% of our currency in its totality ever made was injected the last 2 years too. So yes, cost of living is going to be pretty high for a little bit, but with rates rising, it's going to make, you know, that first-time purchase more tangible for people. You can always change the rate later. Right, with that much ejected into our economy, I don't think money can be expensive for a long time anymore. So I think being diligent, maybe just working twice as hard to make the same amount of pay as what we're going to have to dig in and do, But I think things are going to be in the up and up if we dig our heels in now.
Okay, I do agree. I don't know if that was necessarily good news, but I do agree with you. Jamie's phone. Tell me something good.
Yeah, I think that even though the struggle is real, I'm hopeful that it will weed out some of the excess in the loan officer scenario.
I do. I think it will shake out some of the part-timers and the call rooms and all that stuff. I mean, I think that we'll probably see, we've seen some of our competition go out of business. I think we'll see another 25 to 30% leave the market in the next few months. So how many people out there have talked to agents and said that inventory is increasing a little bit? Has anybody heard that? Adam's heard that. And Colorado is a tough market. Gabrielle, so you've heard agents say inventory is increasing a little bit?
Yeah, I'm in a Tampa, Florida market. So here, we're a tight market as it is. But now that new construction is starting to pick up a little bit more, and also we're starting to level off a little bit more in this market. Prices are starting to come down to what is more reasonable. The sellers are not, and I think maybe the nicest way I can say it, they're starting to actually listen to their realtors and not overprice their homes, because they're starting to get a reality check that, hey, we're still in a seller's market, but now buyers have a little more time to make decisions. They don't have to make a decision within 24 hours. So there's a little bit more wait time as well for homes on the market. So you hit on a couple points that I think are very important. Number one is across the country, inventory is increasing. So that whole list of TBDs that you had, some of them will fall out, but the ones that are actively looking for a house will have an easier time. We went through a time where people made 8 and 10 offers and didn't get any homes. And I think we're going to come out of that. I think it's still going to be competitive. Those people may have to make 2 or 3 offers, but we're going to get down to a reasonable level. There's also sellers are going to be like I said, they hold the goal, but not as tightly. And I've already seen contracts where sellers are accepting seller paid closing costs, and those contingencies are not being removed. I mean, there are people that could not buy a house because they financially couldn't waive the appraisal contingency. So do you realize what that is? That's a suppression of transactions based on what could just be a phantom issue. There may not have been any issue with the appraisal. I mean, we don't have appraisal issues on every deal, right? So people were shunned from the market because they couldn't say, yeah, I can make up that appraisal gap. And that's when things got ridiculous. And I think we're out of that ridiculous zone. And it's going to be easier for the transactions to happen. When you do a TBD today, your pull through is going to be higher. John, don't you think pull through of TBDs is going to be higher?
It should be. A lot of that kind of depends on with values, but absolutely, it absolutely should pull through at a higher clip.
Right. And overall, we're going to have fewer appraisal issues. So one thing that Helmer touched on is the appraisals lag the market, right? So the comps are supposed to be, within the last 6 months. So they average maybe 3 to 4 months old. Well, when you're in a market where the values are going at 1.5% a month, then if the average comp is 4 months old, it's 6% under value. And if it's a $500,000 house, then they're coming in 30,000 short. So if they did it exactly proper and everything was exactly proper, your appraisal would come in $30,000 short and everybody would be up in arms. But it's just because of the lag time. Well, that works in reverse in our favor. So as values come down, the appraisals are going to come in high. You're going to have very few appraisal issues going forward until we get tagged with the dreaded declining market label. But I think that we are a long way away from that. So I do think in the next 6 months, we're going to have much fewer appraisal issues as far as value goes. Does anybody see fewer appraisal issues as a positive? I do. Okay. Faster everything. It's just so friggin' easy to get a loan through the system at Van Dyke and other companies too. I mean, you know, we're not unique in the fact business is down. Everybody is overstaffed. I know that, you know, staff is being laid off, and thank God here we do it, you know, with a surgical scalpel and not with a hatchet. But, you know, right now, I mean, I had a loan. I called and asked, you know, if a loan could be looked at, and the head of underwriting underwrote it that night. She was like, yeah, I can do it now. I got nothing to do. And, you know, and the same thing with conditions being cleared real fast, loans coming out of close. I mean, we can close loans like in 8, 9, 10 days if we have to without an issue. And John will tell you, I'm not speaking out of turn, that secondary has been easier and more accommodating when we need help, because everybody wants loans and we want them bad. You know, we wanted them a year ago, but you know, when you're having the best month you ever had, you know, the appetite is not as big as it is right now, right? So, so getting loans to the system is just easier, and I like that. Faster everything. Anybody else have any positives that I missed out on? I mean, just the fact that we were stuck before where sellers wouldn't even take an FHA contract. So what was, I mean, I think as a company, we do about 30%, 35% government loans. And the fact that these sellers were just saying, we're not going to entertain that. So we were trying to shoehorn a guy with a 635 credit score into a conventional loan with sky high MI and all that, just so that the seller would be happy that they don't see an FHA contingency on there, was crazy. I mean, we need to be able to give our customers the loans that fit the customer the best. And I think we're back to doing that. So who sees that as a positive? Okay. Right, John. So, and also the good news now is that you have more time to review all of your systems that you have as a loan officer. Now, I know, and I'm sensitive to the fact that some of us, you know, are just having an issue paying the bills. You know, I've been in the business a number of years, but some people have only been in the business a few years, and when things were super good, they were just getting started. So by the time they started to get traction, you know, then rates went up on them. So listen, if you're worried about food, clothing, and shelter, then you just need to do what you need to do to take care of your family. And I would never shun or look down on an employee who's doing what they need to do to pay the bills. Okay, if you're the next level up and you're not so concerned about just paying the bills, but just trying to be a success in life, then I think this is an awesome time to right now pull the calendar out for 2023. Let's just, you know, I'm not saying throw in the towel. We're going to do business before now and the end of the year for sure. But let's plan on making 2023 awesome. Normally we have this talk at the beginning of December, but now we're going to have it now. So let's go ahead and review all of our systems and make sure that everything is in place. So here's something that I would think about. So we've had a debate as far as, I guess, Helmer and John and me all have a little bit, mine are rose-colored glasses, but we all have a different view of where rates are going to be next year. And the one absolute truth is none of us know. A lot of it has to do with inflation. Who knows how the election, maybe the election is gonna make the Fed calm down. Maybe they're gonna use that as impetus for more change. We don't know. So there's a lot of things up in the air. So, but what if I asked you this? What if I said, Adam, I knew that on January 20th, that we're going to lower rates to 4.5%, which means everybody you're doing now needs to refinance. If you knew it to be a fact, what would you do? I mean, you'd get ready, right? You'd get ready for January 20th. And so what would you do? You'd make sure that your pipeline, your database had all the right info so you could get in touch with those customers right away. You'd go through and take some notes and put in there, okay, they wanted to build a swimming pool and they wanted to do this and they have too much debt. We're not going to do all that now at 6 3/4, but when I hit that number, we've got to refinance. So a lot of people, what happens is loan officers that have been in the business a long time, I know loan officers that didn't have huge years in 20 and 21, that they had a little bump in their business because they got some refis. They could have had huge business, but they didn't track their past customers. They didn't put themselves in a position. I'm ready to go. I got postcard campaigns ready to go out, already designed. I got everything ready to go. And it's going to be a total blitz when we hit whatever number I think is going to justify triggering a bunch of refis. You need to do the same thing. The refi market is coming. I don't know if it's 2023, 24, 25. I don't know. But you need to be ready for it. And don't be one of those loan officers that's scrambling around and losing business because you don't have your stuff together. So put in your mind, okay, I know that rates are going to go down January 20th, let's say, how do I get in position to capture all of them? Okay. So your prospecting changes a little bit of focus. You know, obviously when we call on real estate agents, we want their business, we want some leads, we try and soft sell it and so forth, so we don't sound like pushy salesmen. But I mean, now we really need to take a step back and say, look, you know, because agents are going to say, right now, I don't have any business. And you'll be like, that's fine. I totally get that. So go into it with the mindset that you're preparing things for them to send you a whole bunch of leads next year. Now, what's going to happen is they're going to appreciate the relationship building, the value that you're going to give them, and the fact that you're not being pushy. And you're going to find that that strategy is actually the best one all the time. But we're going to really overemphasize the fact that we're not asking for business right now. We're just trying to help them out. We're all in this together. So that's the thing. That's how you build relationships, how I did back in 2008, because I took on these agents as friends and saying, hey, listen, you know, we're right there with you. We feel your pain. You know, let's help each other out. Let's do an event or this or that. And, you know, let's help each other out through this thing and hopefully we'll come out the other end. So I think that you really need to concentrate on the relationship building. Okay, you know, like I said before, take a look. You're going to look at your systems, but look at revamping your marketing campaigns. You know, we're still sending out trigger emails that we wrote in like 2004. Okay, so you need to make sure that everything is up to date. There's more texting done now. People have, you know, different trends and so forth. Make sure that your marketing campaigns are refreshed with the right logos, with the picture of you that's in the last decade and so forth. Now's the time, you know, all that stuff is so time consuming, but now you have the time. Like one of the other things, like I said, tighten up that database, make sure the information is accurate. I got a bunch of like return postcards with different addresses and I haven't taken the time to update it. Well, guess what? Now I'm going to do it. You know, review your tech and the apps that you use. I hate like looking for apps to do video editing and this and that is so time consuming. But now's the time to do it. Look at your follow-up. How are you keeping track? Are you using HomeBot is one of them? Are you using, what was that? Mortgage returns, Boomerang. I mean, there's all these services. There's several out there. You know, let's take a look at it, review the competition and see, make sure that our tech stack is what we want to use. Now, I know as a company, we're going to be switching from top of mind to total expert, which I understand is like an upgrade across the board. From the people I've talked to, honestly, you know, I always shoot straight. People really like total expert. So I'm excited about getting that going. But I do understand that all of our data is going to be transferred. So I would not hesitate in using top of mind to put your notes in and so forth. I think it's all going to be, you know, they've got it figured out to transition companies and so forth.
Hey, Stephen.
Yeah.
When's that going into effect?
So is it by first of the year, John? Is that what they're saying?
We're looking to pilot next month,
Nice.
work all the wrinkles out. So we're hoping sometime this year, if not by the latest first of the year.
Okay, thank you. That's good.
So
What
I
is,
think
sorry, what is Total Expert? What you were just talking about?
it's a CRM. It's like, do you use Top of Mind now?
I don't think so.
Who,
No.
is this Jamie that's talking?
No, it's Heather.
Heather. Heather, well, who is your manager, Heather?
Mariko.
Okay. Americo. So get together with him and make sure that you get a login to Top of Mind, at least peruse that, get an idea of how a CRM works. But it's a way for you to keep track of your customers and prospects and to market to them.
Okay.
I might know it as Surefire.
Yeah, we use Surefire. I just didn't know it was called Top.
I'm
Yeah,
sorry.
That's the same
Okay,
thing.
yeah. Okay,
Thank you.
got it.
Thank you for correcting me, Joyce. Right. So the parent company is Top of Mind, or they changed their name or something. But yeah, so peruse that, make sure all your data is up to date. They're going to transfer that over. My understanding is, besides everything being like updated and better, that we'll have that anonymous texting capability that we've been kind of craving for a while. Improve your online presence. Go through all of your profiles. I could go through all the Van Dyke employee profiles and I could find 20 of them that still say they work at their former company. Just people just don't, they use LinkedIn when they're looking for a job and then they forget about it. So whether it's LinkedIn, Facebook, whatever social media you use, make sure that your profile is updated. Watch a YouTube video. Profiles are very important. Make sure that it details out, it's got your little catchphrase and it's got the proper title and everything's user friendly. So, because people will Google you, and that's another thing. Google yourself. So put like Lauren Akins mortgage and Google that. And you should be coming up in the top 8 out of 10. If not, then you need a stronger online presence. Well, now's the time to do it. Learn a new program. So at Van Dyke, we offer all these kind of niche programs. I don't really know most of them, but I know that we have bank statement programs. We had a call on reverse mortgages, or it's coming up. We've got, various programs. Now, 90% of the business we do is agency loans, Fannie, Freddie, FHA, VA, USDA. Okay, but now we're in a time where an extra loan is at a premium. So if you can learn to do, reverse mortgages, go ahead and learn it. Now you have the time. It's another feather in your cap, another tool. I took the time myself to take the VMA class to get VA certified. VA is anytime the government's involved, it's complicated. It's got its own set of guidelines that are generous, but complicated. So I wanted to refresh my knowledge, and I got my VA Veteran Mortgage Advisor certification. So I would definitely recommend that if you have the time. The other thing is, we talk about the psychological effects. Take this time for yourself, because, this is the time to concentrate on your health and your well-being. And when we're going 90 miles an hour and you're, eating pizza at midnight at your office, trying to get those loan apps in, and, John's hitting you with that midday reprice, causing the stress, all that stuff. I mean, I hate to say it, but you let your health, I know I did, gained weight, got unhealthy because I was just going 90 miles an hour. So now, I'm trying to get back on track, get to a regular exercise program, kind of watch what I eat, no more junk food and all that. And I can't afford it because Five Guys Brothers is $12 for a hamburger. It just blows my mind. So anyway, so take the time to get your health and fitness and your mindset, right. So that, at least if your business is down, then at least if you feel good health-wise, you have accomplished something this year. That's for sure. And yeah, like I discussed, we're creating the next refi market. That's the mentality. Every loan you take is 2 loans. It's the one this year and the one, I don't know, next year, the year after, but it's coming. Rates will go down from here. We don't know when and how much. Just like we know the stock market will recover. We don't know when, we don't know how much, but it will. So, you know, keep that in mind and try and keep a positive attitude. So, you know, the bottom line, I just read this online, while interest rates are higher and demand is a little bit lower, supply still remains tight. And that's so important. The slowing new construction. So what's happening is you have builders not taking out as many new loans, but they have time to finish up. So that construction time where it would just drag and drag and drag and drag. Well, now the builders, because they're not getting as many new permits, they're doing more, they're finishing more. So you see an increase in completions. And that's helping. And from a home price standpoint, you know, we're kind of at a support level, but it is coming back down a little bit to realistic levels. Things are not selling, you know, for way over asking price, and your buyers are not getting outbid right and left. This is a very different housing market than it was in 2008. If anybody tells you this is just like it was back then, they have no idea what they're talking about. So the chief economist, Robert Dietz, if I said that right, noted that incentives appear to be back as more than half the builders survey are used incentives to bolster sales. So what does this mean? So they have their approved lender list. You're not on most of them. And it's a real booger when they say, well, we'll pay $5,000 if you use our lender. Well, as the builders get a little bit hungrier for that sale and they don't have a line of people waiting to take that house, then they're going to be a little bit more open to use outside lenders, which helps us out as well. So those are the positives. And I think they're substantial. I didn't just, you know, fluff through a list of nothing. So what do you guys think? Heather, what's your outlook like?
What do you mean? Like, what's my outlook like?
Yeah,
I'm
you feel
super
good?
new.
Okay. Well, from what I said, you feel good, bad, or in the middle?
I feel good.
Okay, good.
Mm-hmm.
Good. Antonia, how do you feel?
Sorry, team, I'm still here, just on the road, but I feel good too.
Feel good.
I feel good.
Okay.
I feel as though attitude is important, and I think that although we're gonna have to work harder to earn the same amount of money, you guys, I feel good. I think that there's still hidden gems out there that, you know, borrowers could take advantage of right now, especially here in Michigan, where the cost of living is a bit lower than other states. I think that after other housing markets settle across the country, that we're going to see a real opportunity here in Michigan. Like we saw the biggest migration here in Michigan from Michigan to Florida when the pandemic came around. So, you know, with everything going on down there and their housing markets correcting and rates going up, I think it's just going to present an opportunity for housing to get more affordable for the little guy. And we definitely got the tools to help. We definitely got them.
Peggy, Peggy, are you and your family safe there in Florida? Peggy has gotten up, but when she comes back, I'm going to ask her how she feels. Jonathan, give us 3 or 4 words here. You feel good about the future or not?
I do. Our jobs aren't going anywhere. That's the thing to remember. We can't be outsourced by a computer. Your expertise, what you guys do well, that's not going anywhere. Focus on your craft. The results will come.
Totally agree 100%.